So this would be the first episode of JV2 Chat. Basically, it's just something that I've been wanting to do. Kind of like a little video / podcast series, I guess you could call it. And I've been thinking about wanting to do it just because of the fact that I love to talk about football. I love watching football. I keep up with it, with the games, any type of game. I play FIFA. I've played it myself. And I just really like the sport. And I know a lot of people do too. I've seen a couple of podcasts myself, such as Sharky the Sports or The Give and Go. Even on TikTok or on Instagram, there's multiple people that just have a platform off of talking. And I just want to be able to create, or hopefully one day, make a community about people that just like to talk about ball, about the footy. Basically, some of the ideas that I had was just not only to talk about like weekly stuff that goes on, whether it's any of the top 5 leagues or any other smaller league, but also about stuff that actual players go through. So I can say that probably my years through high school, playing throughout those 4 years, they were really cool. I have a lot of memories that I cherish and think about. And I just would like to share them. Because I guess some people might connect to that. Some people might like that. Not only with that, but also some of my friends, they wouldn't mind talking about it. And hopefully there's people in here that can connect with that. Maybe in the future we can get some people to tell us their story, put it out there, and see if more people can just relate and hopefully create a community that trusts each other with that. And that overall just like to talk about football, because that's what I like to do. But yeah, as far as things go, I have an Instagram that is up, and I have a TikTok that is up, and well, the YouTube that you are looking at right now. And I would really appreciate it if you would just check it out. Not really asking for a like or a subscriber, but if anybody would like to, I will be thrilled. I just want to talk about soccer and hopefully have people just unite together in the beautiful sport. With that being said, I know that football has been back for, I think, a week or so after obviously the events of the World Cup, which I gotta say that World Cup was amazing. It was one of the best cups that I've ever seen. Every single game, aside from a couple, obviously the draws gave me just the chills because every match was so intense for any team. And, oh man, I just really liked it. I liked watching it. And I know that a lot of people might be just worn down from watching so much soccer constantly. I did kind of take a break from it after the World Cup, but now the club football actually did start. Not every league, just so far a couple of them. Obviously the big ones, we know that. But I wanted to kind of run through them a little bit. And basically, I have them up. I know that Brentford played Tottenham on match day 17th on Monday. And I have a friend that's a Tottenham supporter. And we've been talking not only about this game, but about another game that happened as well. But I can narrow it down to, I guess, Tottenham just not being the team. Like, yes, they can get results. And yes, I think that is the type of team that they are. A team that gets results. Is it good football to watch? No. And that's just my opinion. But they drawed against Brentford, which Brentford have been really good this season. There is no debating that. At least that's what I think. They took advantage of it, and they ended up getting a point against a Spurs team that was in the top 4. The game was intense. I do know that. There was a lot of back and forth. Tottenham started off really well. However, did start very poorly because they conceded 2 goals at the start. One the beginning of the first half and another one after. And then somehow, some way, just like Tottenham knows how to do, they know how to come back because they are a result team. And I believe that's the factor that the manager at Conte, he just brings this tenacity, I guess you could say, about these players to where they have to get a result. Where I don't think before they did that. I don't think before they were able to get a result out of a team. However, they were able to do it against tricky Brentford side. And I guess this is more in favor of Brentford than it is for Tottenham, as Tottenham are in the race for top 4. That was the game. I thought it was just that. Another game that we have was the Everton Wolves game, which this one was very interesting as well, because it was the first actual Prem game that Lopetegui got the coach on, and he faced a fairly disappointing Everton team that, although they did take the lead, the rest of the game was just not what was expected. Wolves did good. I think they did really good. They look solid, and they brought in pretty good players. So I am kind of excited to see how Wolves will perform throughout the rest of the season, because I think Lopetegui is a good coach, and given the talent of the Wolves team, I think they are able to get out of that bottom half of the team and come back. Because at one point, and it did surprise me, they were in the Europa League spot, and they were competing for that. But as far as things go, this game was pretty intense. There's things that can be said about both of these teams. Obviously, I know that I think Everton have a really solid team. Now, I don't know if it's because of the coaching style or anything in particular, but I just like the Wolves teams better. I think they're more solidified. I think they in a way know how to suffer in the match, but they also can hurt you if you're not careful. I think that's how I can describe this Wolves teams. Aside from that, let's move on to the next match, which was Crystal Palace Fulham. Now, I did not think this game was going to be that easy for Fulham. I thought it was going to be more one-sided. I mean, more in the middle between both of these teams, because I think Crystal Palace is a good team. Again, they do suffer a lot because of their own mistakes, but they have really good players that are difference makers in matches like these. However, Fulham is a very solid team, and some of their players just give it all on the pitch. I really like Palhinha, Pereira, they're really good. Even the defender, Tim Ream, who scored today, he was very, very good. There's a lot to be said about this match, because it started off kind of heated, and I think that's where things went wrong for Crystal Palace. They got 2 red cards, and before that, it was only 1-0. They could have capitalized off of it, but they ended up getting those 2 red cards, and I think that is what caused so much trouble for them, and that is where Fulham took advantage and just closed the game out. They looked very solid. Fulham, again, they've been doing that for this season. That is why they are in the top half of the table. And, man, I don't know if it's just the players or how tight the midfield is, but they just played really good. And they got the result that they needed. So we should see more, and we should expect more out of this team with the winter window that is open now. The next game that I want to talk about is the Brighton-Southampton game, which, again, this game was pretty eventful as well, because I think even though Brighton did get rid of their manager, who was doing really good, they got a new one, who was experienced as well. And the Brighton team is not to take, you cannot underestimate them, because they are a team that have good players that can hurt you. In terms of Southampton, though, I was just not impressed. I think that they are a far better side with good players that they take from academies, graduates from academies. They put them in their starting lineup and they let them shine. And that is what I think, puts them up there in terms of development. Somebody can go there and develop and then become a very good player that they can win money off of. But Brighton is just the same way. It's just I think they have more tenacity, more desire to win, and they're more technical whenever it comes to these matches. Brighton, however, they didn't play with a striker on this game. That is what I noticed. They played with Trossard, but they did not play with a striker. Like a number 9, an actual number 9 is what I want to say. Yes, Trossard is versatile, but this team is just, they can do it all. And they have so much players that have a high potential. And it's very exciting to watch them. They're one of my favorite teams to watch in the Premier League. But, oh man, we will see what happens with them. But they're a really good team that I really enjoy watching. Another game, which I didn't... So yes, Leicester Newcastle. It was 3-0 to Newcastle. But what I want to take from this game is that it was just such a crazy game because of the fact that it put Newcastle in second place. They got... The manager is just amazing. He really transformed the side because they did buy some players, but some of these players were already playing last season, and they were not competing to those standards because Newcastle was in a relegation battle. And whenever Eddie Howe took them over, they completely transformed the team. Yes, they brought in some of the signings, but still, a lot of those players stepped up, and I want to believe that it's because of the manager. So this is an amazing team to be watching. I did not think they would be in top 4. I thought at least they would try to fight for that Europa League spot or a Conference League spot, but they are sitting pretty comfortable in the top 4. However the rest of the season goes, I think there is a lot of positive to take from this team. On the downside, though, Leicester, they are a disappointing team this season, in my opinion, because they have so much talent in that team. And yes, they do rely on a lot of the people that are older, but I just think, and even the manager, Rodgers, I think that they're a team that has potential, but hasn't unlocked the potential. Kind of how Newcastle was whenever they were going through their little downfall that they had. Because this team was competing at one of the highest levels 4 or 5... No, it was... Yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago, I think. I cannot remember exactly when they won the Premier League. But it was just so crazy to me. What a downfall they have had. And they have some quality players in their team. But this game ended up being 3-0. Newcastle shut it down from the start with a penalty by Chris Wood. And then Almiron. My gosh, Almiron. What a player he has been this season. I don't even think there's a lot to be said. And it's not even an Almiron thing. That whole midfield, that whole team, just every single time they play, they impress. And they play good football. They play fast, pacey, always wanting to win the ball, always wanting to have the ball, progressive football. And I think that is because of the technical ability that some of these players have. Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Almiron, who has become very technical, very flary, and just knows how to strike a ball. I don't think I ever expected Almiron to be that player, because whenever they bought him and until this season, he hasn't shown anything like this whatsoever. But this season, he's really completely revamped himself, and he's been a key player of this team. Whether he makes a move for a different team or not, I think this has definitely been, and I know the season's not done yet, but this has definitely been one of the best seasons he has had, probably in his life. That is it with this match. This match was crazy to me as well. The next match, Liverpool-Aston Villa. It ended up being 3-1. Liverpool did win. Unai Emery, what can be said about him? I think this should not let their morale down because they are facing Liverpool. However, we know that Liverpool has not had one of the greatest starts to this season. But Liverpool are still a force to be reckoned with just because of the amount of world-class players that they have. But however, I think Aston Villa did what they could, and they showed a lot of potential. In a lot of moments, they could have capitalized off of some of the chances that they had, but Liverpool just knew how to keep the result, and they started off early with Salah coming back. I've seen a lot of things about Salah having a flop season. I definitely think this has been his worst season as a Liverpool player. However, he is still contributing a lot to this team. And this match, I think, was one of his better matches as well. This season at least, because he took leadership. He at the beginning he took that goal perfectly, and overall he just gave the team confidence, which was what they needed coming back into the game. Van Dijk as well coming back, doing what we know he can do. That aerial threat is a force to be reckoned with as well. And this is where things get tricky, because Aston Villa did come back. They did come back, and they did get back into the game, because Liverpool have not been up to par with their defending this season. They did come back. However, because of the changes that Klopp made, Stefan, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, Stefan Bakšić came in, and he looks like he could be a reliable player that Klopp can implement into the system. I want to believe that he is a cam player. He plays in the attacking mid position, but he can also alternate on the wings. He's just a player that could be exciting. I had no idea about him, but whenever I saw him and I saw that he scored, I saw that a lot of people were talking about him, being like, oh, I want to say he's 20 years old, not 18. Oh, look at this player. He's doing good. He's playing in. Klopp is bringing him in. And I want to say Klopp is good at bringing these young players in and thriving with them. Harvey Elliott is an example of that. And there's just a lot to take from this game. But Liverpool do end up winning, and they end up getting a desperate result that they need to be able to turn their season around. The next match that I want to talk about, the current team that is in first, which continues to impress me. They continue to impress me each match because Arteta has really turned this team into a force to be reckoned with. We saw the Arsenal 2-3 years ago. It was not up to par, was not up to standards. Even last season, they were so close. They were so close to that top four, to that Champions League spot that they have been searching for. But, man, they just have this switch this season where it's, we're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. We can turn it around. And they did that because West Ham started the game winning with a penalty. I did not see how the penalty was called, but I did see that they obviously converted the penalty. And from there, they went on to the second half. West Ham 1-0 up against Arsenal. Arsenal, I want to say the old Arsenal, maybe would have gotten a draw out of this, but they probably would not have gotten out of that hole and could have lost this match, could have very easily lost this match. However, they do have that talent and that instant killer switch, and the players phenomenal. They are phenomenal this season. But we end up seeing just 8 minutes in, Bukayo Saka score a goal. Fantastic. Martin Odegaard, what can you even say about him? He controls the pitch so beautiful. Anything goes through him. And he is always involved in that last play. He is always involved. He has so much to say because I think he is a great player. And as well, I think Saka, Odegaard, and even Martinelli complement each other so well. They all have something different about them. Martinelli with that fast and like aggressiveness of his. He is exceptional. He's been exceptional. Saka, very technical. He can beat a man or two or more. He is that good, and he can always just be a difference maker. Odegaard as well. Very, very composed. Very, very... He knows how to get out of situations and how to create something off of nothing, pretty much. And then again, the concern about this game that I had was Gabriel Jesus is not going to be a part of it. Will Arteta or will one of the players be able to deal with that or be able to step in and contribute to what they need? And Edward Nketiah, ever since last season, they have called upon him, and he has just shined every single time. We saw it again on this one, scoring a goal and just completely killing off the match for West Ham. After that, the game, I was pretty much just done. Arsenal got the job done yet again, and they look very comfortable. They look very comfortable in the second half after they did get that result. Right, kicking things off again. We go to still match day 17, but on Tuesday, which we had Chelsea play against Bournemouth. Chelsea looked promising in this game. They looked very promising, and they looked good. They overall won the game very early. And I think after all the straight losses and their tough times, this was a good win to climb back up into the ranks of still hoping to get a Champions League spot. This was a good game. I didn't really see anything that much on Bournemouth side. They have played well. They have had some interesting results, and they have shown their class in other matches. But overall on this one, Chelsea just looked way too comfortable. Hardly anything could break them, and truth be told, because they did get a clean sheet. Overall, I think it was a good game. Pretty straightforward. Nothing to it. Kai Havertz was involved in both goals. Nice to see him getting a little redemption. But that was that match. And then we can move on to the Manchester United match, which they played Forest, which it pretty much was a walk in the park. That match was a walk in the park for them, I feel like, because they pretty much dominated the whole game. Again, very early on, they sealed the game off to what's going to look like a comfortable result. Marcus Rashford, what a turnover season he's having. Even for England, he looks very, very good. Obviously, it's just that pace. He's too fast. We've seen what he can do in the past. It's nice that he's getting that form back up. Martial as well did score. That is nice to see. Now that they do not have Cristiano, which I guess it plays a part on both ways, and here's where I can see getting a little backlash from it, because they didn't really utilize him this season to the best of, I don't even know of his abilities, because he is a game changer. It's Cristiano Ronaldo we're talking about, but this season it just did not happen. Whether that was a United thing or that was a Ronaldo thing, who knows? I don't think it matters. United are just back into it. Like I said, they eased into the match, and then they finished it off. Fred with a nice goal towards the end just to get in the score sheet. But this United team is very interesting because for the second time again, or I think it was the second time, I can't remember, Luke Shaw was playing center back, and I think he did an okay job in the position. Might have just been because Martinez wasn't back and they didn't trust the other two, but he did a good job there. And overall, I think the team played pretty good enough to get the 3 points. Statement win, Ten Hag. But yeah, it was a very, very straightforward game week, at least for this day, Tuesday. Moving on into Wednesday, Ligue 1 comes back. I cannot say that I am a Ligue 1 fan or completely into the Ligue 1, but from what I can see in the results, there is some stuff to take away from this. I don't know if I'm going to butcher these names. If I do, I am sorry. I will try to not. Ajaccio, I think that's how you say it. They won 1-0 against Angers. The reason why I want to keep up with Angers is because of Onahi, the center mid from Morocco. Phenomenal player. He did very good in that tournament. I am not sure if he played on this game. I will check right now. He did not. He did not play on this game. I don't know if that just meant he wasn't back. Deserved break, if anything. I mean, but yeah, that match ended 1-0. Troyes played Nantes. 0-0, that game ended. Then one of the exciting games that I'm seeing is Auxerre against Monaco, and that game ended 2-3. That was high-scoring games. Sometimes can be crazy. Others aren't. Just because but I feel like this game was very back and forth from what I can tell. They scored one, and then Monaco scored two after on the second half. Monaco scored again, they scored an own goal, which led it to 2-2, and then towards the back end, on the 85th minute, Monaco sealed the win. I guess you could say that Auxerre, I think it was, put up a very good fight. I don't think they're that high up in the table, but Monaco, I know they can be a tedious team. They have pretty good players, and it just ended up being one of those days, I guess. But they got the result. Lille's always a fun team to keep up with. They have very good, talented young players. And it shows here because they ended up winning 2-0 with Angel Gomez, which I know him. He plays pretty good. He scored a penalty, and they sealed off the game towards the end with Mohamed Bayo scoring a goal, assisted by Jonathan David, which Jonathan David didn't really have that good of a tournament in the World Cup, but it's good to see that he is involved in the goals, at least for his club team, that is. So yeah, I think Lille's a very entertaining team to watch, at least in the Ligue 1, because they have those young, talented players that are always easy to scout for big teams or whatnot. But, I mean, it's good. The game that I did watch, or keep up with at least, was that PSG-Strasbourg game, which it's still crazy to me, the elite mentality that Mbappe has. Yes, he's cocky, arrogant, stay there for the money, whatever. But he is world class. He is a difference maker. Mbappe is that type of player now. And when he got called upon, he won the game for PSG in extra time. He is that guy now. He can turn something out of nothing into something. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I see it. He's that difference maker. That's Kylian Mbappe, and his story is just gonna keep growing and growing. I'm sure he's gonna break a lot of records because he is just a generational talent. But the game week for Ligue 1 ended with Olympique Lyon winning 4-2 against Brest. Which Olympique Lyon has an interesting team because they do have some known players. They also have some talent. I'm not sure if young, but they are very talented and a well-rounded team, I want to believe. They ended up winning this game 4-2. Coqueret scored. Lacazette is doing very good back at his old club. Ryan Cherky as well, very good youngster that a lot of people have in their radars. Tete as well, very good. Monitored by a couple Prem teams, I think. As far as that goes, there was a Prem game on Wednesday. There was City against Leeds. I think this was the second game for City after coming back, although I cannot remember. I think the other one was a cup game, actually. But this was the first Prem game for them coming back. And start things off, things were slow. It was 0-0 for a very long time. And then we get Rodri's goal. Brilliant. One of the best in his position, if not the best at the moment. When called upon, phenomenal. Leeds as well. I think as well they played without a 9. With some of the players that they had. I think Leeds is a good team. Jesse March, I think he's a good coach. Leeds as well, they've been inconsistent this season, but they have very good, well-rounded players, I believe. I think they can be a good team when fully fit, and I don't know if they could really take a point or a win from Manchester City, but I think they're a very good team, and the fact that they got a goal back, I think that speaks for itself. But anyways, the game got done and dusted whenever Erling Haaland touched the field, because there's nothing that can be said about that man. He is a robot. He is a machine when it comes to scoring goals, and he bagged 2 more on this game. 2 more goals. Whether they're tap-ins or not, he's gonna break the record. He's gonna break records. It's crazy to think that how good he is, and it is his first season in the Premier League, arguably the hardest league out of every soccer league that is to be watched. On Thursday, the interesting thing about Thursday is that La Liga started. Now, I keep up with La Liga a lot because that is where I support one of my teams. The match week was pretty straightforward. There was only 3 games. Girona played Vallecano. That game ended 2-2. Betis played Athletic Club, which ended 0-0. 2 very good teams going at it with each other. Betis just in incredible form. They're doing good and they're playing well. Athletic Club, always a very tedious team. Very technical team now with Ernesto Valverde. And it's just good overall. Atletico Madrid are one of the first bigger teams to come back. And they ended up winning 2-0 from which I want to say was a heated game because I can see that there was a lot of yellow cards and red cards. Game took charge. Antoine Griezmann comes back still with that form that he played in the World Cup. And João Felix, who looks like he can be leaving, scored a goal. As well as Alvaro Morata, who ended up scoring, who could be leaving as well. Atletico Madrid scored a goal. Their team is solid. I don't know what they lack sometimes, but sometimes they just don't play as well as their ability suggests. But they made it to top 4 because of this, and they're doing good as far as with this game. So now we will see for the rest. Also this day, Ligue 1 continued. We had Montpellier winning 2-0 against Lorient. Reims beating 3-1 Reims. Nice tying to Lens, which was, I don't want to say disappointing from Lens, but with the form that they have, I think Nice had a very good team as well, or at least they made a lot of purchases in the transfer window. This could have gone either or then. If that was the case, it could have been a very tedious game for both of them, and they both played, obviously for the win. None ended up getting it, which I think is a positive for both. But obviously, Lens at least is in the title race, and they if they would have capitalized off of this, they would have margined that margin between them and PSG. But the last game of Thursday was Marseille against Toulouse, which Marseille dominated the game completely, and the scoreline ended 6-1. Rongier scored. Then there was an own goal. Kolasinac scored as well. And then it just kept going. Dimitri Payet scored, and another goal, Sheknik Under from the penalty spot, and then Nuno Tavares as well. Jonathan Klaus has been a very good signing for them. I know he was from Lens, and Lens, I guess you could say because of where the table is, they are doing better than Marseille, but I think that was a very good buy from them. Jonathan Klaus, whether he was at Lens or not, he was a revelation player, and I'm glad because he's been doing good. That was it as far as Thursday. Friday, it just keeps going. More games. We start the day off with La Liga games, which Getafe won 2-0 against Mallorca. Cadiz tied Almeria 1-1. And then another game that I thought would be more interesting, or there would be a higher scoreline, was Celta Vigo Sevilla, which ended 1-1, which either team I think could have capitalized off of them. I don't think Sevilla, at least not this season, they're not that good of a side because they are in the relegation zone. And to me, it is kind of crazy because of the margin of players that they had. Yes, they lost most, if not all, of their defense, but they did make some good purchases. It's not been working for them. The last game of Friday in match day 15 for La Liga was Real Madrid kicked things off against Real Valladolid. Real Valladolid. And Madrid ended up winning 2-0. Again, it's just that elite mentality of being able to clock when to come back because they did it towards the end. And I think it was because of that altercation that happened, which meant Karim Benzema got the penalty. One of them got sent off, and I think that is the reason why they were able to score the second goal. And Karim Benzema again, which this season, Karim Benzema has not been the talisman that he was last season. Not to take away from his class, he is a Ballon d'Or winner, but he stepped up in the game when they needed it most to be able to get those 3 points, to be able to keep that margin tight, and they ended up winning it comfortably. This day as well, match day 18 of the Prem started, which saw Brentford against West Ham. The crazy thing about this is Brentford, they're just such a good team, and I want to say it comes down to the coach and to the trust that the players have within each other, because they're beating teams that, and obviously football is an unpredictable sport, and West Ham are not doing that great, but I just expected better, I guess, from West Ham or Brentford to not do that good, and I always get my mouth shut because Brentford won this game 2-0. Ivan Toney getting the score sheet again and then contributing to the goal, and nothing to take away from West Ham. Another poor performance, I think. Brentford just capitalizes off of their opportunities, and West Ham cannot get it in the back of the net and cannot capitalize off of the games that they should be winning. The next game with this one was Liverpool against Leicester, which obviously is always tedious because of Brendan Rodgers. But this game started off in a fantastic form because Leicester started things off and they started with the first goal in the first 4 minutes. What is crazy to me about this game is that, yes, Jamie Vardy was the one that got injured and got subbed off. I don't think that is one of the reasons to why they lost. I think it just came down to the unpredictability of Liverpool as well as some of the mistakes that Leicester made, because there was 2 own goals in this game, and that is how Liverpool won the game. But the own goals came from the one player, Woodface. He scored both of the own goals, and I guess you could say Liverpool just did good in pressuring that, or whether it was his own fault. He ended up scoring both of them, which obviously I guess you could say can be hard for a player, already knowing that you scored one own goal and then going on to score the rest, and then your team wasn't able to come back or get the victory. But I guess it happens. It is soccer. It is an unpredictable sport. And yeah, it was just a straightforward win. But Liverpool again kicked things off with the win, a much needed win. And that was it for Friday. Yesterday, Saturday, some of the games where we saw on the Premier League, match day 18th as well, Manchester United took Wolves. I think, at least here, the game started at 6:30 a.m. I did not watch that game, but I did watch some of the highlights and some of the stuff that happened. I think it was an even game, and Wolves were a hard team to break down. But then again, Marcus Rashford stepped up again and got a very much needed goal for this Manchester United team. They looked good. They look confident. They look like they can do damage, and they look like they can comfortably sit on that top 4 spot. They're a good side. Wolves, I don't think they're a bad side. Like I said, they have some key players, important players, and I think it's just a matter of time for Lopetegui to start clicking things off and getting them out of that relegation zone. I think they will do it. I think they will. But the Prem is always unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen. The next game was Newcastle against Leeds, which again, we know Leeds is in a very good form, but I also talked about Jesse Marsch and how they have those players that will give themselves on the field for a result, which honestly, against Newcastle that is in the top 4, this is a very good result for Leeds, because they now can capitalize off of this tie, because they did manage to get it against a very good team that is obviously due credit because of the position that they are on. Pretty much nothing too bad happened on this game. Just some changes here and there, and I think it was just a pretty good game to watch because it was back and forth. The next game after this was Bournemouth against Crystal Palace, which this is what I talked about. Crystal Palace is a good team, and they can capitalize off of stuff because Jordan Ayew got on the score sheet, as well as Eberechi Eze. They both got on the score sheet, and they both did very, very well to contribute to this win. Not to discredit the whole team, but at least I think it was Eze. Eze is always such a good player to watch. He's always a difference maker, in my opinion. He was a very good buy for Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace can just capitalize off of this after their lost in the last game. So this is a good win for them. Bournemouth, I think, are a good side. They have that fight in them. Very unfortunate that they had to lose this game, but Crystal Palace end up with a win, and that is what matters for them. The next game is Southampton against Fulham, which ended up Fulham 2, Southampton 1. This game was a little tight, I guess you could say it, especially after both of their last performances, which saw Southampton lose and Fulham win pretty comfortably. But back and forth, I guess you could say. James Ward-Prowse ended up scoring the first goal for Fulham, which was an own goal. But then he redeemed himself, got back and scored the goal that saw him go 1-1. And then after very hard fights towards the end of the game, I think, Palhinha, what a player he has been, I think, scored in the 80th minute. And they saw them beat Southampton. The crazy thing about this as well is that in the last minute, Mitrovic had a penalty. Mitrovic has been in pretty good form, but he has also disappointed somewhat from that hype at the beginning of the season because he ended up missing the penalty. It didn't really affect the team since they still got the 3 points. It could affect him mentally because he did miss a penalty. However, it's not to discredit from anything. They still got the 3 points that they needed. And overall, Fulham can just sit and just stay calm off of this one. The next game after was Manchester City against Everton, which I guess you could say was an underwhelming performance from Manchester City because Everton were able to contain them, if that makes sense. Contain them. And I mean, there was a lot of cards shown. For both teams. It just seems like it was a battle between these two. Erling Haaland, again, getting on the score sheet, getting that goal to what looked to be just City-dominated first half. However, Damari Gray scored a brilliant goal in the second half, which made the game 1-1, cost them to tie, and was able to get that point for Everton, who do need it because they got them out of the relegation zone. Obviously, Manchester City dominated. However, they didn't capitalize on taking advantage of everything that went in their favor, and Everton took chances off of the little opportunities that they had, which was the difference maker in that game. Then the game that I did watch, Arsenal against Brighton. Arsenal looked to be a walk in the park against Brighton because it started off in the first half purely Arsenal dominated, with Bukayo Saka coming in the second minute and scoring a goal, and then Martin Odegaard coming in the 39 minutes scoring a goal. It looked to be done at that point. It looked to be the same Arsenal that we know, and that has been that thrilling team at the beginning of this season. Edward Nketiah then went on to score at the very beginning of the second half. However, Brighton did get back into it on the 65th minute with Kaoru Mitoma coming in and scoring a goal, which I think he is a very good player. He was a very good buy for Brighton. He was a very good squad player. They utilized him this game, and it paid off. Him in Japan, he was very good. He always came in and made trouble for some of the defenders from the other teams. He ended up scoring the goal, and it put them back in the game. However, because of that mentality, that elite mentality that Arsenal have had this season, they shut that down because shortly after, Gabriel Martinelli scored a goal assisted by Martin Odegaard, which was brilliant because it is that switch that they have to not give up and to keep fighting and to keep going. And it got more entertaining towards the end because Brighton ended up scoring another goal shortly after. Ivan Ferguson ended up scoring the goal, which then made the margin closer. Ended up being 2-4. There was a goal disallowed from Brighton in the 89th minute, which is something that I wanted to talk about. As good as Arsenal have been, they have been leaking a lot of goals, which could potentially be one of their downfalls, but it's not much to discredit off of them, if that makes sense. It was just a back and forth game, at least towards that end, and I feel like if that goal didn't become disallowed, Brighton might have been able to come back and maybe tie the game. But it was not on their side, and Arsenal were able to win the game, get those points to remain first of the Premier League. It's nothing too discouraging for this Brighton side. They fought with everything they had. They're a very good team to watch. I like to watch them a lot. Again, Trossard played in that number 9. Mitoma was able to come in and do damage as he did score the goal. It was just a very good game, I think. That was it for the Premier League for Friday. Then La Liga started back up, match day 15th, and we saw the early game with Barcelona facing Espanyol in their derby. I am a Barcelona supporter, yes. Excited that we were going to get to come back and watch this Barcelona team with some of the performances that these players had from the squad in the World Cup, but it was just a disappointing game. But here's the thing, because the refereeing was just awful, and we know that referee is just awful in general. But this should have been an easy game for Barcelona to win. That I never think that penalty should have been given. Not that I didn't see any actual contact like that inside of that box for there to be a penalty. However, that is my opinion, and that does not matter. Marcos Alonso, we saw him score off of a brilliant set piece which Andreas Christensen set him up just for an easy header. There was a lot of yellow cards in this game, and there was even red cards. This game had it all. There was so much emotion for it. Nobody was able to get the result, the 3 points. But good result for Espanyol, very bad result for Barcelona, because we could have been 3 points clear again from Madrid at the top, which we are still sitting, but it's just things have to improve in this Barcelona team, because on the form that we were on before it, we looked good, we looked comfortable, and this game was just uncomfortable. Lewandowski couldn't get into it. Rafinha, Fati, even Ferran and Dembele could not. And it's crazy, but I'm glad we have Araujo back, who hopefully he can get back integrated into the team, because he is a rock in that back line, and it's just security that he offers. The next game after was Villarreal faced Valencia, which was also a tedious game because it ended up being 2-1, but to Villarreal, Valencia opened the scoreline, ended up being 1-0 by almost halftime, which Edison Cavani was the one that scored. But then Villarreal, Samuel Chukwueze, scored. And then towards the end of the game, very end of the game, Juan Foyt got the decisive goal, which saw Villarreal win. Both of these teams are pretty good. They have a good ability, I think. They're always tedious to come up against, and it was an interesting game. It was an interesting game because both of these teams could have gotten away with the result, I think. But yeah, that was it for this match. The last game of La Liga for yesterday was Real Sociedad faced Osasuna, and Real Sociedad won 2-0 against Osasuna. They shut off the game. It was pretty straightforward. Bryce Mendes scored, and then Sorloth scored, which just closed the game off, and it seemed to be just off of chances. They just won off of chances, the chances that they had, the chances that they created. They won off of that, and Osasuna didn't play a bad game, but they just couldn't capitalize off of those opportunities that they had. So it was straightforward for Real Sociedad. They got the 3 points, and they just called it a day. Now, the last games for today, Sunday, the 1st, which, Happy New Year's, by the way. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to start the channel, because it was a new year, and I just wanted to try to talk about football and some of the knowledge that I have. Aston Villa won against Tottenham, which I was talking to my friend about, because Tottenham I think they are just, at least with Conte, they are a die-hard result team. Yes, they can get the result. They don't play attractive football, but they can get that result. And seeing that they lost against Aston Villa, yes, it could have been an Emery masterclass, but Tottenham were just poor. We saw them win this game 2-0, with Emiliano Buendia scoring in the second half, and Douglas Luiz sealing the game later on in that second half. I'm not sure what happened with Tottenham. I don't know if they just got the changes wrong. My friend claims that it's just because they lack the funding. I think they have a solid squad, but I don't know if they just can't make it work. Whether that is Conte, whether that is the players, whether that is Daniel Levy, I am not sure. It's probably just a combination of all of them. That was it for that game. Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, that game ended up being 1-1, which is disappointing for Chelsea, because they did win the last game, and they built momentum, or at least I thought that they built momentum enough to see them start winning some of their games back to back, and keep going and keep attacking and keep that mentality. But they could not get the result that they wanted or needed from this game, which was the 3 points. We did see Raheem Sterling score second half. Serge Aurier was the one that scored and put Nottingham Forest tied against Chelsea, which just shows that there is fight in this team. Yes, they might have about 20 players, but they all bring something to the team. And I guess the manager just gets to play along with them and pick the best starting lineup that he thinks. But they were able to get a result against Chelsea. They were able to get a result against this Chelsea team, and it just happened to work. There was other games as well for Ligue 1, which was match day 17. It just kept going. Toulouse won 2-0 against Ajaccio, which they ended up losing the other game, so this is a great comeback from them. Lorient won 2-1 against Angers. Monaco won 1-0 against Brest, which they just kept going on that momentum. Auxerre, who ended up losing again 1-0 to Nantes. Auxerre lost. Nantes tied the other game, so this was a good opportunity for them. Olympique Lyon lost against Clermont, which disappointing result, I guess you could say. But the result of the day, 3, PSG won. Football's unpredictable. You can have as many superstars as you want, but hard work always beats it. Not saying that PSG didn't work hard, but Lens have been in excellent form. And after tying the last game, seeing them win against PSG and narrowing that margin down to just 4 points, it was very good. I think this Lens team is very well-rounded, very good. They are fast on the counters. They can also possess that ball, though. Don't discredit from that. They played their game and against PSG. So they ended up winning it, which they scored early on. Frankowski, or very early on, but then PSG responded back with Ugo Ekitike coming in the 8th minute and scoring. Not shortly after, but after that, Openda comes in scoring, having that lead for Lens. And what sealed the game off in the second half was Claude Maurice just scoring and giving them that 2-goal margin, that 2-goal cushion, which then that is when PSG started bringing in some of their players, because there is such a stacked team that anybody can come in and they can just change pretty much the whole formation, the whole system. But it was just not enough. It was not enough. Lens ended up getting a very, very good result, which is astonishing against a PSG that is hard to beat. I think I saw a stat that said that this was one of the first games that PSG lost since March of last year, I think, which is crazy to think. But they ended up getting that result, and they ended up winning. As far as things go, I pretty much think I reviewed the whole week. Obviously, this is the first video. I know there's going to be stuff that changes. I just wanted to get it out just to be able to put myself out there and be able to actually complete this New Year's resolution that I had. I know I have friends that are probably going to watch this and they're probably supporting me, which I appreciate a ton. There is more to come because I want to actually grow this as a channel. I'm just going to keep doing it, and if people tune in, I am very, very happy that they will. Or if they do, I'm just going to keep talking footy because it's what I like. I like talking about football, like I said. I like watching it. So if anybody would like to just subscribe or keep up, that would be amazing. As far as things go, the channel is called JV2Chat. And like I said, I have a platform on Instagram. I have a platform on TikTok. I'll be making videos on there as well, just trying to promote and trying to grow the community, the channel. I appreciate if you stuck along the whole way and watched the video. I hope I can do the same thing next week and people find this entertaining. But yeah, that was it for me. Hopefully later on we can get some of my friends coming in, just talk soccer back and forth and just be able to debate about topics. If there's any questions that y'all want, any ideas, any suggestions, put them in the comments down below. I will read them. But overall, I appreciate everybody that was here. I hope you like the channel. I hope you can show it to a friend or something. There is more to come. That is one thing that I can promise. There is more to come. Overall, I appreciate it. Happy New Year's. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe. Thank you.